Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very impromptu episode of the Baby Back Rib Show. I'm one of your hosts, Cole Cunningham. Obviously, I'm in a much different setup than we're normally used to. And, I'm actually in my own room. And I decided to do a tier list of the NFL starting quarterbacks for this season. And the main reason I did this obviously is because, as you know, if you're watching the channel, you would know Otto did one of his own, and I liked it. I thought it was a great video, and I was like, well, I would like to give my thoughts of my own. So we'll see how this goes. As you can see here, we got the tier list right in front of you. We got the tiers. I'll list them off for you. We got elite, above average, average, below average, and trash. So the same 5 tiers that Otto had in his video. And I think we should just get right into it. And so for the first, I guess I should say I'm going to do basically what Otto did and rate the quarterbacks based on how they did this season. And I'm going to be taking into account their situation. So you got to consider the skill players around them, their offensive line, the coaching, all that type of stuff. And so it'll be interesting. Hopefully it's not too similar to Otto's list. Hopefully it's not too different. Because watching his video, most of it I did agree with, but I think there were some things where I disagreed on, and I think it'll be fun just to kind of see how his tier list compares to mine and all that. Maybe Jeremiah does his own. That'll be interesting too. So we'll see. But so to get started here, we're gonna go with Tua Tagovailoa. And to be fair, Tua had an okay season. Unlike my co-host Otto, I'm not the biggest fan of Tua. He's a great dude and all. He just, I don't know, he doesn't really do anything on the field that wows me. You know what I'm saying? Because when he was at Bama, he was basically before Joe Burrow happened, he was this otherworldly prospect. And everybody remembers that season. Everybody before the season actually started, before Joe Burrow threw for 60 touchdowns, everybody was saying let's tank for Tua. And and then obviously things changed and he landed in Miami, and he had a good season, I will say that. But based on just his play, I think I'm gonna have to put Tua in average. Hello, thank you. I'm gonna have to put him in average, just because you look at the skill players around him and you look at the coaching staff, and obviously the run game, elite run game. And I think you want to see more, especially when you factor in the playoffs, where, you really couldn't do anything at all against the Chiefs, who I know they have an amazing defense, but, look at your 2 wide receivers. You have 2 amazing wide receivers in Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. So, you think you'd want to see more. You think you'd want to see him, I don't know, he's just not, what's the word I'm looking for? He's not someone that is able to make a play on his own. I feel like he relies on his receivers to make a lot of his plays, Tyreek Hill. And I've said it on a lot of episodes before. Tyreek Hill is mainly, he really is the engine for this Miami Dolphins offense. And you saw it without him, it didn't look too great in a couple of games that he missed. So I'm gonna have to put Tua in average. So next quarterback, we got Jared Goff with the Detroit Lions, and I'm going to put him in. Also, I'm going to be ranking the quarterbacks within the tiers as well. We'll see how that goes. Probably won't go well at all, but it'll be interesting to see. So, Jared Goff. I think for now, I'm going to put him in above average, with the possibility to move up to elite. Because, I don't know, I get the sneaky feeling that I'm going to put a lot of quarterbacks in elite or above average. but we'll see. We'll see what happens. So, Jared Goff, really interesting quarterback, because it seemed like when he was with the Rams, he really couldn't make a play without Sean McVay telling him what to do in his ear. And that narrative basically changed this year, because, I mean, he had, I don't have the stats off the top of my head, obviously, but he basically had a career year when it comes to, like, his own individual statistics. So, you looked at his previous seasons, like, what was it, 2018 with the Rams, that Super Bowl team. Well, they made it to the Super Bowl and lost, but he had an awesome year there too. But most people put that on Sean McVay instead of Jared Goff. But I think this kind of proved that he's able to, be a good quarterback in this league without the help of an elite head coach like Sean McVay. Now he just has an elite offensive coordinator and Ben Johnson, but I think it's just both of them working together now at this point. That's what made that Lions offense so good this year. So, yeah, I would put Jared Goff in above average with room to move up to elite. So, yeah. Next quarterback, we got Joe Burrow, and I'm gonna put Joe Burrow in here instead of Jake Browning, just because he played more games than him. I will shout out Jake Browning though, because for a backup he was pretty awesome. But for Joe Burrow, this is interesting, because when he was playing, he was pretty good. It's just, I don't know where to put him. I guess for his standards, I would say this was just an average year. It's almost like an incomplete, to be honest with you. But I'm going to put him in average for now, just because, like I said, he had an incomplete season, and if you remember, the first few games for the Bengals were just not going their way at all. And it seems like the only teams they could beat were teams in the NFC West, which was really funny at the time. But after a rough skid for the first 5-6 weeks of the season, it seemed like they learned how to play a lot better, and they kind of gelled together, kind of what they do every season. But unfortunately, Joe Burrow missed a good chunk at the end of the year there, so he wasn't able to finish the season, and the Bengals missed the playoffs because of it. And yeah, and he's also a guy that has elite weapons. I would say he probably has the best group of skill positions in the league outside of tight end, because who's talking about Irv Smith Jr. right now besides me? Nobody is going to be the answer to that question. So yeah, I'm going to put Joe Burrow in average. I'm going to put him behind Tua as well, because statistically Tua had a better year, and he also played more games. So yeah. Now Jordan Love, man, I gotta tell you, I'm not a Packers fan at all. But it's very hard for me to say that Jordan Love isn't a very good quarterback, because his first full season as the Green Bay Packers starter, he lit the league up, respectfully. Going into this year, people thought, man, it's going to be a rough year for Jordan Love, trying to figure it out with basically, scrubs at wide receivers. You had Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, Bo Melton, right? Tight ends, you got Luke Musgrave, who I'm a big fan of. The running backs, you got Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. But nobody really thought, unless you were a Packers fan, I would say, nobody really thought too much of this team. But dude, Jordan Love was amazing this year, and honestly, I'm gonna put him in above average as well, above Jared Goff, and I think that's a good place for him for now. But honestly, here's the thing: both of these guys, I probably could put them in elite tier pretty easily. But I want to say the main reason why I'm not doing that yet is because I think for elites, I want to put the top 5 quarterbacks for this year in elites. And honestly, Jordan Love is a pretty good case to probably be in the top 5, but we'll see what happens. So But yeah, for now, I'm gonna put Jordan Love in above average, above Jared Goff. And so next we have Brock Purdy, out of Perry High School in Gilbert, Arizona, and I'm also going to put him in above average. I think it's a good spot for him because I mean, this dude, he did have MVP talks. Now, I do think a lot of that was because of the amazing skill position players he has around him. You got to think about it. He's got Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings. Big shout out to him. Scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl, and I think threw one. I mean, honestly, now that I think about it, how many players have done that? Thrown and scored and caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Nick Foles is another one that comes to mind. But yeah. Anyway, I don't know why I just went on a tangent about Jawan Jennings, but yeah. And then you also have, obviously, for the Niners skill positions, you have George Kittle, tight end, one of the best tight ends in the NFL. And obviously the engine of it all, basically, Christian McCaffrey. So, yeah, but I'm going to put Brock Purdy in above average. Also his first full season as the Niners starting quarterback. And honestly, I think Brock Purdy, honestly, having him next to Jared Goff is, like, really, for me, I think it's very funny just because when I think of Brock Purdy, like, his kind of, I think his peak as an NFL starting quarterback would kind of be what Jared Goff is right now, which would be awesome for the 49ers, by the way, because, I mean, they would love a quarterback of, like, that could be like Jared Goff was this year for the Lions. So, yeah, I think having Brock Purdy right here, behind Jared Goff is a good spot. So yeah, I'm gonna put him there behind Jared Goff, and we're gonna move on to our next quarterback, which is going to be Sam Howell of the Washington Commanders. So, was another quarterback who I think it was his first full season starting. And I don't even think he started. No, he didn't even start every game because I think Jacoby Brissett started a couple there because he was just not very good. And I'm gonna put Sam Howell in below average. So, yeah, it was not a very good situation for Sam Howell, to be fair. Just because I think he was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL, and now some of that is on him, but a lot of that also is on the offensive line for the Commanders there, and I see why a lot of people are thinking, this team desperately needs to get like a Drake May or maybe even a Caleb Williams at that second pick in this draft, because I mean I kind of saw the vision with Sam Howell a little bit, but my opinion on that has since changed. I don't think he's the type of guy that's going to lead you to a Super Bowl anytime soon, and I really don't see him as a franchise quarterback, especially when you have the options to take guys like Drake May and Caleb Williams, whoever falls to that number 2 pick, if you're the Commanders, or maybe they trade up, who knows. But yeah, he's going to be the first. He's going to be our first quarterback in the below average tier, and we'll see if he has any partners to join him. But speaking of underwhelming quarterbacks this year, I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence to be quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to put him also in average. Oh, do I put him in front of Joe Burrow or behind him is the real question. Because I don't know where to put him. I'm going to put him back real quick. I'm gonna take a look at his statistics real quick, just so I can kind of take a gander of what numbers we're looking at here. Sorry, I can't spell. Oh my god. Trevor Lawrence. There he is. So his stats on the season. Oh, here we go. 4,000 yards, 21 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Interception numbers kind of interesting, to be fair, because that is a pretty high number. Along with 5 fumbles and 2 of them being lost. I'm sorry, it's pretty late for me. I don't know why. And by pretty late, I mean 10 p.m. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna put him. I'll put him behind Joe Burrow in the average tier for now, because it was still a solid year. I mean, you're throwing for 4,000 yards. I think the main thing is just to get the touchdown numbers up. And I don't know if that's necessary. I guess that is on him, but that's the main gripe I have with that, is that it just seemed like the Jaguars could not find ways to score this season. So, yeah, that's really I think that's the main reason why his numbers look so, like, just not very good. So, yeah, also 14 interceptions is a pretty high number, especially when you're throwing the ball. How many times did they throw the ball here? 560 times in 16 games. It's a pretty high number that you don't want to see from your star quarterback there in Jacksonville. So, yeah, he's going to be in the average tier. Now, for the Jets, I know this is Aaron Rodgers' beautiful face, but we're gonna pretend this is Zach Wilson, and I mean, you know the story of Zach Wilson taking number 2 in the 2021. Was 2022? I think it was 2021. Yeah, it was 2021 NFL draft, taken second overall behind Trevor Lawrence, and has not been the quarterback the Jets thought it would be. That's why they went out and got Aaron Rodgers. So obviously I'm going to put him in trash. I know he had that awesome game against Kansas City, but one game isn't going to boost you up any tiers. So, yeah, we're going to put him there. And I really don't think I need to say anything else. We all know the story of Zach Wilson just is not an NFL caliber quarterback. At least not a starting caliber quarterback. You know, as a backup, sure, whatever. But definitely not someone you want to have as a starter. And here we go. Patrick Mahomes. I know Otto had him in, I think I want to say above average. I'm going to put him in elite. Now, is this glazing? Shit, it might be, honestly. But at this point, you gotta understand, this dude, I know a lot of it is on the defense too, but that's only one half of the game. You know what I'm saying? So to be in the Super Bowl and to win the damn thing, you have to be good on both the offensive and defensive side of the football, which the Kansas City Chiefs were, mainly because of this man right here, Patrick Mahomes. Because even when his best receiver, and I'm talking about wide receiver for the season, was Kadarius Toney and Justin Watson, it seemed like, you know, they were still finding ways to win games, and they were still just figuring it out, mainly because of Travis Kelce. But I still think the point stands that I think you put any other quarterback in that situation and they don't make it as far as they do at all. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty easy to put him in elite tier, and you know, I think that's basically where Patrick Mahomes belongs at this point. He's just, I mean, he is the best quarterback in the NFL for a reason. There's a reason he's, you know, getting paid for the next decade. And yeah, like I said, the skill position players for a big chunk of the season wasn't too great out of Kelce. But I mean, you also did have Rashee Rice at the end of the year, finally kind of emerge as the number one wide receiver for this season. So I mean, he did get a little help there. But yeah, I'm putting Mahomes in elite. I know his numbers aren't as amazing or as spectacular as you would think they would be for Mahomes, but I mean, I still gotta put him in elite. So yeah. And next, we got Jalen Hurts. This is another interesting one because I really don't know. I mean, this is another guy where I think I gotta look at his stats again, because if I recall, it's not too pretty. I mean, you see here, 3,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, 15 picks. And then you obviously have the rushing stats as well. 15 rushing touchdowns, but I mean, his longest rush was for only 24 yards. And I bet you his longest rushing touchdown was probably that 24-yard rush. But I mean, you have probably a lot of 1 and 2 yard rushes here. So yeah, I think for Jalen Hurts, I'm gonna put him. I think I'm gonna put him in a. Ooh. I think I'm gonna put him in average, but in front of Lawrence, but behind Burrow. No, I'm gonna put him in front of Burrow too, because he did play a full season and he did look pretty good for the first, I want to say like 7-8 games. Like he did look like he was, MVP candidate, but obviously that tailed off when the Eagles started to lose games to the Cardinals, who had like 3-4 wins. So yeah, that's where Jalen Hurts is gonna fall. He's gonna fall in the average tier behind Tua. That's funny, because these three quarterbacks right here were all in the same draft class, but I digress. Next quarterback, we have Desmond Ridder for the Atlanta Falcons. Trash. Is he behind Zach Wilson, though, is the question. I think he is. I think he really is, just because I think I don't know, dude. This is why ranking quarterbacks is very, very hard, because now it's like I can't decide where to put Desmond Ridder, if I put him in front of Zach Wilson or not. I'll put him in front. I'll put him in front because I don't know. I think Ridder. I don't even know, dude. Honestly, this is like, I don't even know why I'm trying to argue this. It doesn't really matter, does it? Because, these are two of the worst quarterbacks in the league, so I'm just going to move on. I'm going to put Ridder in front of Wilson, though, just because that's kind of what my gut's telling me right now. So, yeah, we're going to move on from that. And now we get to my boy, my shining star, my favorite player in the NFL, Kyler Murray. And Otto obviously had him an average, and he even apologized to me on the video for that. And it's weird. It's weird to rank him if you consider how much he played, I think. Because I think if you take out how much he played, then you would easily say he's an above average quarterback. This team with him in the lineup went, 3-5, I want to say? 3-4, 3-5. And, that's, for how bad of the roster that the Cardinals have, you'll take that every day of the week. Absolutely. And that's why I'm like, that's above average, right? Because, when he came back, this team's dynamic, especially on the offense, obviously, because he's the quarterback, completely changed. And it was incredible to watch just how, you really saw, like, how much of an impact that a player like Kyler Murray can have on the football field. And I apologize because I'm praising Kyler Murray a lot right now, but he's my favorite player. I got the Oklahoma shirt on for a reason. I got his jersey in the background for a reason, even though I don't think you can see it. Maybe you can. I don't know. But, yeah. I'm going to put him in above average because, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm probably going to get yelled at by my co-hosts and everybody that watches this, but I don't care. I'm putting him above average, okay? Because, once again, you also got to consider the skill position players he was working with. A lot of the year, it was literally nobody outside of Trey McBride. It was Rondale Moore, Greg Dortch, shout out Greg Dortch, by the way, and, Michael Wilson, who I love Michael Wilson, but he wasn't even there because he was hurt for a couple of games, and so was Marquise Brown. So, it was like, Elijah Higgins? That's a really bad receiving core, man. And to be able to win actual football games with that speaks to how good Kyler Murray really is in the NFL, and I cannot wait to see him next season and with a full year of training camp and all that stuff with whoever they get in the draft and all that stuff. But I'll save all that talk for a future episode of the pod. And next we get to Josh Allen. Joshua Allen, man. Honestly, I give big props to Otto when I saw him in person before we recorded our most recent episode for putting him in elites because, you look at his numbers and you kind of look at the interceptions and just the turnovers in general, and you kind of get a little scared. Because let me pull it up here. So 18 interceptions, and then 5 fumbles, 3 lost fumbles. That is 21 turnovers on the season overall. I apologize, my phone just went off. But yeah, so, but he threw for 4,300 yards, 21 touchdowns, 15 rushing touchdowns on 4.7 yards per carry. So so he's involved in what, 44 touchdowns, essentially. That's a lot for a quarterback, and that's why he's going in the elite tier above Mahomes. Now, once again, this isn't me saying that Josh Allen is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes, but this is me saying that he had a better year statistically than Mahomes, which I think a lot of people would agree with. And yeah, I think because I mean there was a point in the year when they still had Ken Dorsey as their offensive coordinator. This dude Josh Allen was basically he's playing hero ball. It's like every single game out there. And then once they switched up Joe Brady, they kind of his role kind of diminished a little bit, but obviously he's still the quarterback. But they turned him into, I don't want to say a game manager because obviously he's so much more than that, but his like they didn't have to rely on him to save them in every single game is basically what I'm trying to say. And that's kind of why at tail end of the season his numbers went down, but so did his turnover numbers, so it kind of evened out. But he still had an awesome year for the Bills, and it was really unfortunate that Tyler Bass couldn't make that field goal, because it would have been awesome to see him make a great playoff run, a deep playoff run, if you will. But yeah, and now we move to Kenny Pickett. I'm gonna put Kenny Pickett in below average. I'm gonna put him behind Howell. I'm gonna put him behind Howell. And you could also make the argument that he was in trash, but I'm going to take in consideration that for most of the year he had Matt Canada. And this is me also putting a lot into, I think, the one game he played without Matt Canada. He actually looked pretty solid. I'm not going to lie to you. You look at his numbers in that one game, and he didn't look terrible. He actually looked like an okay quarterback. Let me see if I can find the one game here. I think it was this game right here. So threw for 278 yards, 0 interceptions, obviously 0 touchdowns, but they won the game. And it was his highest season. It was his highest game of the season when it comes to passing yards. In his first game without Matt Canada, his highest throwing percentage as well. I guess the Bengals, who had, I mean, they have a lot of talented players, but their defense wasn't amazing this year. But yeah, so obviously overall the season wasn't too great for Kenny Pickett. 2,000 yards, 6 passing touchdowns, and 4 picks. But I'm gonna put him in below average behind Sam Howell, because I also do think if he would have finished the season out without Matt Canada, he would have had a better year than both Zach Wilson and Desmond Ridder. So, yeah. Next, we get to Mac Jones, McCorkle, if you will. He is going to be in the trash tier. Was he the worst quarterback this year? You really could make the argument that he was. So, I'm going to put him there. And yeah, I think him being the worst quarterback in the league is valid. I know the skill position players in New England are not good at all, but I just don't think he's a very good quarterback, and I don't think he had a very good year anyways. So I think it's very valid to put him there. He had 2,100 yards, 10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Can I see how many games he played this year? Because I don't think he started every game. He only played in 11 games, but that's a good enough sample size to tell that he was not good at all this year. So, yeah, that's where I'm going to put him. And I'm kind of peeking at the rest of the list here. I think he is going to end up being the worst quarterback in the league. So, there you go. Next we have Geno Smith. Geno Smith is a guy I'm going to look at his stats real quick, because I know he kind of had a down year compared to his comeback player of the year season, but still wasn't terrible, right? So let's look here. Yeah, 3,600 yards, 20 touchdowns, 9 picks, and 15 games. Only was 2 games. Wow, I thought it was more than that for some reason. But good year, honestly. So when I'm thinking about it right now, I think I'm gonna put him in average. excuse me. I want to put him average, and I think I want to put him behind Jalen Hurts, just because, like, you saw him last year, and you're like, this is the guy for the Seahawks, and I remember thinking to myself, like, you can sign into a pretty big extension for the next 2-3 years. You can ride with Gino, pause, for the next 3 seasons as your guy. But this season he really didn't. He didn't continue to he didn't really build off that season, and he didn't really continue to kind of like name himself as the starter. Because there was a lot of people questioning if he really is the guy this year, due to his play. But I still think he had an overall solid season, and yeah, that's why he's literally smack dab in the middle of this list so far in the average. So that's Geno Smith for you. But next we've got Rain Dakota Prescott, or as a lot of you may know him, Dak Prescott, starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. He's going to be in the elite tier. I think he's another guy I'm going to put over Mahomes. And he had an awesome year. He really did. I think if he didn't kind of let me look again. Hold on, because it's been a minute since we've seen Dak Prescott play some NFL football. But yeah, he kind of he did pretty good end of the year, but it seemed like he didn't really, because for most of the year it seemed like he was the MVP. But I guess basically Lamar kind of just overtook him at the very, very end of the season. So, yeah, but still an awesome year. 4,500 yards, 36 touchdowns, 9 picks. I remember before the season he said, I'm going to challenge myself to not throw 10 interceptions this season. And he did it. Just barely, but he did it. So, yeah, Dak Prescott was awesome this year. I really don't know what else to say other than, yeah, this was his best. I think this was his career year, and I think he's the guy in Dallas for sure. So, yeah, that's what an elite season gets you. And now we move on to Justin Fields. Very controversial quarterback right now for the Chicago Bears. A lot of people wondering what the Bears might do. Knowing that they have the #1 overall pick in this year's draft. So, I think for Justin Fields, I'm going to put him at the very end of average. Just because I think he is a solid quarterback. But I think the numbers that he put up this year could have been better when you think about the skill position players that they've tried to surround him with. You have DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, the running backs, Khalil Herbert, Roschon Johnson. And he's just, I don't know, I think you would want to see better, because it seems like they are trying to surround him with good skill position players. They just never seem to work, I guess. Because, obviously you saw them trade, basically a first-round pick for Chase Claypool. I think that's more Claypool, obviously, just not being a good receiver anymore than anything. But, yeah, so I'm going to put Fields in average at the very, very tail end. And he's another guy I'm very interested to see, obviously, where he goes. I think, obviously, the Falcons and the Steelers are probably the big two teams that'll try to make a play for him. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. So, yeah. Because I think wherever he goes, I think he'll immediately do better than what he's with in Chicago. So, yeah. Now, next up, this is Anthony Richardson in the picture, by the way, but we're obviously going to rate this as if it's Gardner Minshew, because he started the most games for the Colts this year, and Gardner Minshew, interesting season for Gardner Minshew, to say the least. Because you pull it up here, he had 3,300 yards, 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and he made the Pro Bowl, by the way. That was the funniest thing ever. Right when they announced that, I texted my friend's group chat saying, Pro Bowl quarterback Gardner Minshew. I got aired, obviously, but I thought it was absolutely hilarious. But looking at these numbers, these aren't like above average numbers, right? This honestly, I think I'd put him. So this is Gardner Minshew. Even though I can't wait to see Anthony Richardson back in the NFL as a starter. But yeah, I think I'm gonna put Minshew above Fields. I think that's a good spot for him. Yeah, that seems like the right place for him right now. Because I think Lawrence had the better year. Yeah, okay. That's what I'm gonna go with for sure. So, yeah, and then Lamar Jackson won the MVP, had an awesome year throwing and running the ball. Probably the best dual threat quarterback in the NFL. Obviously, you can make an argument for guys like Allen Murray, but I think it's Lamar Jackson just because his running ability is just it's leaps and bounds ahead of these guys. I think. So I'm gonna put him in the elite tier. I'll put him ahead of Mahomes, just so Otto doesn't get mad at me. But yeah, I think Lamar Jackson definitely had one of the best seasons for any quarterback this year. That's why he's in the elite. That's why he won the MVP. And I mean, yeah, like you take into consideration the skill players that he has around him. It's basically just like, he's got Zay Flowers now, but outside of Zay and Mark Andrews, it's nothing too crazy. Like I know you have Odell and Rashad Bateman, but those guys aren't like, gonna wow you. So yeah, I think what he was able to do with what he had around him is why he's in the elites here. So that's where I'm gonna put him. And now we get to Justin Herbert, probably one of the most controversial quarterbacks in the NFL, because it's like you see everybody kind of saying like, oh, if he was in this situation, he would, he'd be in a dynasty already and all this stuff, and it's really funny. And I'm a big Justin Herbert fan, but I don't think he had the greatest season this year, obviously because he missed a good chunk of the year. But yeah, let me see his stats here. So in 13 games, he had 3,100 yards, 20 touchdowns, 7 picks. Very Minshew-esque is what I'll say for him. But he did play a couple more games, so I think that is going to make me move him. God, dude, Herbert fans are going to hate me for this, but I'm literally going to put him right here, right behind Tua. Just because I think Tua did have the better season. Played a full year and put up better numbers. So yeah, but I think that's a good spot for Herbert right there. Yeah. So move on to our next quarterback, C.J. Stroud, Rookie of the Year. He's going in the elites here, for sure. So yeah, C.J. Stroud had an awesome year. I remember we were a good chunk of the season, and we were a good way through the season, and he still only had 1 interception to his name as a rookie. That was crazy stuff to see. And I think realistically he had one of the best rookie quarterback seasons ever. You look at his numbers. Sorry, I cannot type. But yeah, I think you look at his numbers here: 4,100 yards, 23 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. And most of those came in, I think, one game against the Cardinals, believe it or not. I think he had like 3 interceptions against them? Yeah, 3 picks. Yes, 3 picks. So, kind of an outlier here, if anything. But, yeah, incredible year for C.J. Stroud. You take into consideration what he was working with. He was working with a rookie in Tank Dell, a wide receiver, I think a third-year wide receiver, Nico Collins. I'm a Nico Collins fan. I think he's good. But, I don't think anybody expected him to be this good, especially at the tail end of the year when they were without Tank Dell. So, yeah, you really got to give this whole Texans team props, especially, the coaching staff and the quarterback, C.J. Stroud, because, they took a team that won 2 games the year before, 2 or 3 games, and they wheeled them into the playoffs. And, you really got to give the props for that, because that's really good stuff. And now we move on to Derek Carr. Derek Carr, dude. Oof. I'm not even going to look at his numbers. I think I'm just going to put him... I'm going to put him in front of Minshew and behind Lawrence. Because I know you look at his numbers and you say, oh, he wasn't actually that bad. But, yeah, 25 and 8, 3,800 yards, but he also just didn't have a lot of very good throws. And if you watched a lot of Saints games and you saw a lot of clips that went online, it was just kind of you seeing Derek Carr and like thinking, what are they doing? And that's kind of what's summing up the Saints, to be honest with you, is like, what are they doing with like always just restructuring everybody's contract and all that stuff. But yeah, I want to put Derek Carr at the tail end of the average tier here, which is looking to get a little crowded. But yeah, so yeah, I think it's a good spot for him. But up next we got Matthew Stafford for the Los Angeles Rams, and I think I'm gonna put him. I'm trying to decide if I want to put him in front or behind of Goff, and I think I'm gonna go with. Let me look at his numbers. I gotta look at the numbers, man. Matthew Stafford. Thank you. 3,900 yards, 24 touchdowns, 11 receptions. And I mean, this was a great comeback year for him, to be honest with you, because I mean, you saw the year before, kind of fell off there. Only played 9 games and didn't look too great. But I mean, this year the Rams got Puka, and it seemed like this team the dynamic just changed just like that. So yeah, I'm gonna put him in front of Goff. In front of him, thank you. And yeah, I mean, it's just funny, like, you've got the current Lions quarterback right here and the former Lions quarterback right here. But yeah, I mean, an amazing comeback season by Matthew Stafford to get the Rams in the playoffs. And yeah. So next up we've got Baker Mayfield, who still in a Panthers jersey in this picture here. So that's interesting. But yeah, Baker Mayfield, awesome year. Nobody had any expectations for the Bucs going into this season, and yet somehow they won their division and made it to the playoffs after Tom Brady retired. Literally the year after he retired. I think if you would have told anybody that was going to happen, they would have said, "What are you smoking, brother?" But we're here, and Baker Mayfield. I mean, he made this offense look better than Tom Brady did. I want to say in his last year. I don't think it's a crazy thing to say because, I mean, you watch Brady's last season, it wasn't too great, and I think. Another guy that had an amazing comeback year. So now I'm deciding if I want to put him in front or behind of Stafford, because he's going to go in above average for sure. It's just where, and I think above average in front of Stafford is a good spot. Yeah, I'm rocking with that. So Baker Mayfield above average as of right now, top 7 quarterback season. I think that's going to stay the same because, I mean, I'm looking at the bottom of this list here, and I don't see anybody that's going to rival that. So, yeah. Now, next we've got the Titans quarterback, which I know right here it says it's Ryan Tannehill, but I think I'm going to go with Will Levis as their starter just because I think he did play more games. Let me see. Did he? Hold on. Played 9 games. Okay, so he did play in more than Tannehill. 1,800 yards, 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions for Will Levis. I think I'm going to put him in below average in front of Howell. Just because I know he had his first start, which was an awesome game, by the way, for him. And he had that, and he had the Miami game. And then outside of that, I don't think he was too great. So yeah, but it'll be interesting to see what the Titans do in the offseason, try to surround him with, a better offensive line, maybe better skill position players to try to help him out there and get him some more help and try to develop him into the franchise quarterback that they desperately need. So, yeah. And now we get to a really weird one in Russell Wilson, because you look at his stats and I don't think he was too bad. 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions in 15 games. And I think I'm going to put him in average. I'm going to put him right behind Geno. Because it was weird. It seemed like Sean Payton did not want to work with Russell Wilson at all, knowing what we know now. So the fact that he was able to have a pretty solid season in spite of that kind of speaks to how good he was this year. And another guy that had a great comeback as well, funnily enough, because, I mean, you saw how bad he was the year before, all the memes and all the Danger Russ and the Danger Witches and the Broncos country's Let's Ride you saw. And, you were thinking this guy's going to be out of the league soon. But I think really, and I mean, unfortunately, he still might be. But I really don't think he's that bad. I think he had not a great year, but he had a good year. And I just think it's hard to have an elite year when your coach is basically saying, take a pay cut or we're not going to play you. I mean, because it's a very interesting situation there in Denver. But I digress. We're here to talk about quarterbacks that actually played, and I'm going to talk about Russell Wilson, and I'm going to put him basically smack dab in the middle of average, right next to Geno. So, yeah. And now we're going to move on to Daniel Jones, who got paid, and he did not deliver. I'm going to put him in the trash tier behind Ritter. And yeah, I mean, everybody kind of saw it coming from a mile away. Everybody was asking, why are you paying this dude $40 million a year? Because it didn't make sense to anybody at the time, but for whatever reason, the Giants still did it, and it's really odd situation overall, because now they find themselves in need of a starting quarterback, but they're paying somebody $40 million to be their quarterback. That's not ideal if you're trying to win. If you're trying to win games, make the playoffs. So, yeah. Daniel Jones is going to sit in the trash tier for me. And next we move on to the Browns quarterback. Let me look at the stats for the Browns quarterback here. You guys know who he is. Former Texans quarterback. Didn't play very often. I think out of the 4 quarterbacks that played this year, he played the most games, 16 games. They also did have Flacco. So let me see. If Flacco played more games, I would go with Flacco instead, because I can actually say his name on this episode here. Not an episode, it's a video. 5. Okay, I'm gonna go with the former Texans quarterback out of Clemson. So you look at his numbers: 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Honestly, I don't even want to talk about him. I'm just gonna put him at the top end of below average, and just be done with it. And now we got Jimmy Garoppolo. Bad quarterback. Yeah, I don't really know what the Raiders were thinking paying this guy. I guess Josh McDaniels wanted to reunite with his old backup quarterback, but this time make him his starter, and it did not work at all. He got fired. Jimmy got benched. He got busted for using PEDs and still being bad. How does that even happen in football? Blows my mind. Just for the PED thing, I think I'm going to put him behind McCorkle. I mean, yeah, I think it's an interesting question now. Would you rather have Mac or Jimmy G? I'd probably go with Mac, but yeah, I'm probably one of the biggest Jimmy G haters on planet Earth. For his quarterback play, I'm sure he's a great dude, but he's just not a good quarterback at all. And I think I don't think he's this bad, but This year was not a good look for him at all. So yeah, and now we move on to a guy in Bryce Young who was in an awful situation. Had very bad coaching, very bad skill position players, not a good offensive line. Even though the Panthers, sorry, they invested in their offensive line, but it just seems like they couldn't figure it out at all. And this team desperately needs a wide receiver to help Bryce Young make some plays out there. And to rate his rookie season, I mean, I don't want to be too unfair to Bryce Young, because I think he can be a good quarterback in the league. I just don't think he was in a good situation at all. He had 2,800 yards, 10 touchdowns, 11 picks. And I mean, I think I'm going to put him in the top of trash. Just because I think you look at the 5 quarterbacks here, and they were all in a better situation than Bryce Young. But they played at a very, very similar level. So yeah, I'm gonna put him in the top of trash. Now, this isn't me saying Bryce Young is trash at all. I don't think he's a trash quarterback whatsoever. But this season was not a very good one, especially when you're the number 1 overall pick. So yeah, I'm kind of forced here to put you at the very top of trash. I'm sorry, Bryce Young, but that's just how it is right now. And then last but not least, we got Kirk Cousins. And I mean, well, it's kind of weird because it's kind of like the Browns. This team had a lot of quarterbacks play for them. They had Kirk, obviously, for a good chunk of the year. They had Dobbs. They had Nick Mullins start. They had, I think, Jaron Hall start a game, but then he left and Josh Dobbs played for him. Really interesting year for the Vikings, especially the quarterbacks. But let's look at Kirk Cousins. I think he did still play the most games out of anybody on the team. Yeah, played 8 games. So yeah, had really awesome numbers in those 8 games too. 2,300 yards, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. If he played a full season, he probably wins MVP, doesn't he? Because you want to inflate this to a full season. He probably has around 4,800 yards, 38 touchdowns, and 11 picks. Which, I mean, you're probably gonna win the division if you're the Vikings. So I'm thinking I'm gonna put. Sorry, I just bounced around 4 different tabs. I need to close these tabs. I don't even know why I have them open right now. But yeah, I think for Kirk Cousins, it's weird because he's kind of his stats are like a roided up Kyler Murray for this year, and I think I'm gonna put him in front of Kyler at above average. So yeah, I think I think that's gonna do it for the tier list. Because I think, Kirk Cousins, he had an awesome year in the 8 games that he played. Set the league on fire. I remember even a few weeks after he tore his, I think it was his Achilles, he still was in the top 5 for passing yards, which is insane. It showed you how good he was for the first half of the year. So yeah, I mean, unfortunately, what happened the rest of the season is a big what if. But I think he had a great year, and I'm fine with putting him in above average because, I mean, I did it with Kyler. I think I can do it and get away with it with Kirk as well. So, yeah, those are my, let me see. I don't think there's any revisions I want to make looking at it real quick. But, yeah, I think it's going to be me ranking every quarterback, every starting quarterback for the 2023-24 season. And if you enjoyed this tier list, please give it a like. God, I'm not good at this at all. Alright. But, like I said, if you did enjoy this video, please give it a like. If you disagree or agree with this list, let me know in the comments below. And I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. And thank you to everybody who supports the channel. Because I think doing tier lists like this is so fun. I think I would love to do one with my co-host at some time, and I think it'll be very interesting to see all of us try to get together on the same page to figure our tier lists out. And yeah, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and yeah, have a good one.